What is happening, y'all? What is happening? What's happening? I'm your working gamer, and we are here. Lords of the Fallen. We just beat it. It was a quick stream. It was like 20, 30 minutes. Didn't expect it to be that long, but this is not the review video. This is the build video. So with that being said, let's kick it off. Now, I first started off as a strength build, which turned into a strength radiance build. I respect once. So with that being said, let's just get into it here, right? So
You again.
first and foremost, I started
You
off
again.
as the Dark Crusader class and proceeded to build a strength build from there. And from there, what I did was I had a
You
couple
again.
swords that I upgraded, and then I actually ended up using the scale breaker throughout early game through majority to like mid-late game. I got this to a +10, B+ scaling. I included the strength scaling rune and the two-handing rune, as well as another strength scaling rune to really pump up the stats. And I got this to like 800 and change attack power by like early mid game to like mid late game. And this really carried me. I mean, I was doing some serious damage with this. But eventually, I came across our weapon here, the Luminous Abiding Defender Sword, and I got this to a +10. And as you can see, the scaling and strength and radiance, it started off as a C, I think, for both of those, or a C-. And I added the rune for strength scaling to it specifically. The others were just like gain health and what have you. So, you know, this is the weapon portion where when I respect, it's a B+ for both. As you can see, requirements, strength and radiance are evenly balanced. So B+ and B+. So I was really teetering, and as you can see, the bottom left-hand corner there are stats, 45, 8, 35, 33, and 50. I focused on getting the stats comfortably to where the weapon output was doing more damage than just straight up strength scaling at B+ for the hammer. So you're getting a B+ for both. It's going to utilize both, and the damage output was really great. And you know, we got through the game without issue. You can check out the streams. So these were my two main weapons of choice that I personally really liked. And that got me through the game. Again, I started off as a strength build, used the hammer, and then I got this. I did a little bit of farming to get the materials that I needed and ended up with this weapon, and it looks cool as shit. You know, straightforward sword. I'm a swords person, and I really liked it. You know, so those were my weapons of choice, and getting the strength to a B+ was really useful because of that strength scaling rune that I was able to apply to the hammer as well as this weapon. So those are my two weapons of choice. Those are definitely my weapons of choice, even though I also had radiance super high, you know, at 50. I didn't really do spells. I wasn't focusing on spells. I like the melee build. It's just more my style. If I were to do like a spell sword, which I kind of feel like this is, but not at the same time, like probably Pieta's sword was more of that style sword, and I probably could have used that as a spell sword, and just kind of respect and take some away from strength and pump more into radiance. But it's just not the build I wanted to do. I didn't really want to focus on spells and things like that. I wanted to be evenly balanced with defense, offense, and stick to like a melee sword. Even though it does scale with radiance, I could have made my build a little bit more unique in nature and done some spells and things of that nature. But if I was going to do spells and things of that nature, I probably should have pumped more into radiance and get that more to like the 60, 70 range. So this is how I ended up. So that's the weapons, that's the stats. Now, the stats got to where they were because of my accessories. Now, you start off with this, with the Dark Crusader, and it pumps up your endurance and it pumps up your strength by 3. So if I were to remove this, see, my endurance went to 32 and my strength went to 42. So I utilize this to not have to pump so much into strength or endurance. Then I also have a strength attribute, one here. This also pumps it up by 3, this ring. Right? So that's 6 points into strength that I didn't have to allocate via vigor. So that's really nice right there, right? And then on top of that, look, another 3. 6 stats into stamina that I did not have to allocate via vigor. Now think about it. If I didn't use these and I was doing like a radiance build, more spell style, and I need to get my radiance up, I probably wouldn't be using these rings. I'd probably be using something else. I'd probably be using like something more mana related or something like that, but I'd have to put the vigor and the investments into that stat, into those stats to use and be more like that spell style and radiance and things of that nature. Because pure radiance, I had to dump and use my investment in rigor and vigor to get that radiance to 50, where I got 6 free points into endurance and strength thanks to Dark Crusader class pendant here and thanks to these rings. Excuse me, thanks to these combinations. So for me, it was a no-brainer to kind of stick with this build because you get free points out of it. So for me, that was very simple choice, very simple in nature, where, you know, sure, did I need the strength attribute? No. But this pendant giving you 3 and 2 endurance is too hard for me to ignore because I dumped those extra 3 points towards the end game into vitality to get it to 33, just to give me that little extra buff of health. I wanted it to get to 35, but, you know, my goal was 45, 35, 35, 50 by the end game, but Sundred was a pushover, and, you know, the final boss Adyr was a pushover because I cleansed all the beacons, so I didn't realize the ending was going to be like that in nature, but, you know, it is what it is. So for me, it was pretty much a no-brainer to do that and just kind of focus on Radiance and get those up. Now, for, you know, like throwables and stuff, I didn't really use them that often. I mean, you can see I have a bunch here. I didn't use any of these. I pretty much stuck to melee build. Like, yes, these are good, especially for early game. You can throw them and things of that nature. Again, I could have used the catalyst because that didn't require me to, like, have a catalyst to do spells. I forgot what that catalyst is called. It's pretty much a catalyst that lets you use spells without having to have the actual catalyst to cast a spell. So, but again, like, I focused on more the melee build. So for me, these throwables are whatever, and I just kind of used them, you know, sparingly here and there. And when I got to, like, early mid-game, I pretty much stopped doing the throwables. At that point, you might as well just do the spells, right, in my opinion. So although it's a nice combination and mix, I did use them from time to time just to get some, you know, just to get some damage done from a distance, but, you know, just, it is what it is. Then when it came to armor, I pretty much focused on this armor once I got it all. Once I got this, again, you start off with the Dark Crusader class, you're pretty good. You know, you're pretty tanky with the Dark Crusader class. And I got this pretty much early, late early game, early mid game. Somewhere like when you're going through, like after the first or second boss, after Pieta, I got this. When I was like going through like the ladders and stuff like that, the area after Skyrest Bridge, that first area after Skyrest Bridge, I got this as a drop. And honestly, since then, I've just been using it. So for me, this headpiece carried us throughout the whole game just because of the physical damage mitigation and the weight combination. Then for me, once I got the Corrupted Cleric's armor, I got this probably early mid-game to mid-game, and I just ran with it. I didn't get rid of it after that. I mean, its weight is pretty heavy, so this was like I relied on this for defense. So for me, this was the one of choice. I mean, I did get some other ones and things like that nature, but for me, this is a really good balance compared to other armor you get throughout the game. I know I only have some, but just to kind of demonstrate, you know, like look at the bottom and look at the top on the right-hand side. I mean, all of our resistances and all of our damage mitigation are pretty much very well balanced at a high number. Where all these other ones that weigh a little bit less, the difference is drastic. Outside of the Sovereign Protector armor, whose physical defense is super high, as you can see in the bottom right-hand corner there. But I mean, honestly, this armor gets you through the game. It got me through the game, no problems. I'm no A+ gamer. I'm your working gamer. Check out the streams, and, you know, I got through the game, you know, no problems with this armor. Now, usually for arm pieces, I was running with this one, the Cowarth Guardsman, or the Judge Cleric Gauntlet, but I had switched this off and put different leggings on because of the weight distribution. It would put me overweight, where I'd be fat rolling, so to speak. So I mean, I ended up taking off the gloves at the end game. As you can see here, no gloves. So for me, you know, no gloves is whatever because my pants do some serious help. Now, granted, you know, some other ones may have a little bit higher resistances, but again, these Light Reaper's leggings go a very long way in terms of being just very well balanced across the board. I think I was actually using these Crimson Rector leggings for a little bit. But then when I got the Clerical Judge armor, I took these off. So, I think very well balanced, the Light Reaper leggings, you know, even with no arm apparel. This build and this equipment got me through the game without issue. And I really just personally think that, again, you know, leveraging, you know, so that's our weapons, that's our stats, that's our armor and our accessories, you know, and that's pretty much the gist of it here. And I do think, see, I got increased radiant scaling. So it's going to, so like the scaling with radiant scaling is going to be good. Then I got increased strength scaling, as you can see on the right-hand side there. Then I have gain health upon striking an enemy. Now this, for me, is not all that great, like the gain health upon striking an enemy, simply because I just don't think it's all that great. It's such a minimal amount of health that I just don't think it's really worth it. It is what it is. This is why sometimes, like, you know, I had a different one here. It was like reduce mana usage or increase mana overall. And that's why I feel like the Radiance build, if you have a sword, you're going to like one-hand it, not two-hand it the way I was using it. But again, I got through the game and we're doing some serious damage with this weapon. So I have no qualms about it. But honestly, that's our build. You know, you could really go crazy with the Radiance build. Again, you can have like a sword and spells, which is really super nice. But for me, I'm more of a melee style. So this is where we ended up at, and I have no qualms about it. So that is our build overall. And now I just kind of want to get into the game a little bit. So that was our build. Now we're just going to go over the review. It's going to be one video. And so for me, I have to say, we didn't go into New Game Plus yet, but I have to say, where should we go? We'll go here. I'll start off with the price and the length and difficulty. Now, the length of the game is pretty good. You can get anywhere from 30 to 50 hours plus, depending on how much you explore. And I got this game for $40 with the deluxe package, with the Dark Crusader class. I mean, look, we're smacking this dude up. Stagger him, see? No problem. So for 40 bucks, considering the length of the game, I think it's really, really nicely done. I'm playing on the PS5, so I have no qualms about the price and the length of the game and the replayability of this game and the exploration or anything like that. Difficulty of the game, I definitely will say this game is not hard. I definitely won't say it's easy, but it's fair, in all honesty. You know, it is really fair. At first, I definitely can see why it would be really difficult, especially if you don't start as the Dark Crusader class, because you get those extra 3 points into strength. Oh, hello. And endurance out the gate, and if you don't have that, that's like a 6-point difference. Okay, so it's just it's a pretty big jump, in all honesty. You know, like that's not nothing, right? So overall, will I say the game is like super hard? No, but when you start as a Dark Crusader class, it's kind of like a jump start for you. So I will say that. Now, getting to, I mean, again, so the difficulty, you know, not too bad. Now, getting to the areas, I think the areas are really nicely well done. Okay, I think they're very nicely explorable. There's different types of areas. There's different types of enemies in each area. I think Umbral is a great concept, like this Umbral where you can like transform in and out of, like, you know, your Umbral. I think that is very cool concept. Gives you pretty much 2 lives out the gate, where you don't have to, like, if you die, you just don't die. It's, you know, you have 2 healths essentially, which is super nice. So yeah, the area is very much explorable. It feels like an open world when it's not. And I definitely appreciate that. Now, my one thing I will say when it comes to the worlds and the exploration, and this is my qualm about the game, is there's really no true sense of direction. Like, I didn't know where to go at all, anywhere at the time, at some points. The keys to, like, open certain doors are super hidden. It's like impossible to find them. I had to look it up. I did some stuff offline as opposed to streaming because I, for the life of me, could not find some of these keys. I did like a good 4 to 6 hours looking for stuff where I was like, where the hell is this keys? And you can be exploring for hours. I mean, I went through a couple areas 3 times and I still couldn't find stuff. So when it comes to like sense of direction and like figuring out where to go and what to do, I will say there's no help. Oh. And that I didn't like. I didn't appreciate that. And like, yes, it's part of the game, you know, like you got to explore and et cetera, but sometimes stuff was like really impossible to find. There's really no sense of direction in this game. I mean, sure, when you go to warp to different vestiges, there's, you know, like exclamation points like, oh, there's a side quest here, or there's this there, or, you know, you got to do this over here. And like, that's cool and all. But man, when it comes to like finding some of those keys and finding your way, like where to go next, or like I wanted to cleanse the beacons, you know, so I cleansed the beacons. I got the typical ending, and sometimes it was just hard to find some of the stuff and do some of the things requested to progress the main story. And another one of my issues is that Sundred and the final boss Adyr, if you're going to go through the main game and do the typical ending, were complete pushovers. I mean, I smacked up Sundred, no problems. And... Ow. And Adyr was just like, he's going through his monologue and he's just killing a bunch of stuff, you know, walking around. So I had, like, slight issues with that, although some of the bosses were not hard in nature. Again, I started as a Dark Crusader class, so it's hard for me to judge because I started off with a jump start, right? But at the same time, I felt as if the game should have at least, like, if Sundred's going to be a pushover, at least, like, make Adyr, like, an actual enemy where I know, like, the hidden ending is when you don't cleanse the beacons. You go into, like, this Umbral form and you fight, like, this Gargoyle Pieta version style thing. So, I don't know. I just thought the last 2 bosses of the game were kind of very much pushovers, and I thought that was a little odd. But at the same time, I feel like it's saying, like, you know, we gave you a hard time throughout the game, and you had to do a lot of exploring and et cetera, so this is more story-driven, and you cleanse the beacons, you got your ending, and I find that really nice. It's a nice touch, you know, to focus on the story like that from time to time. I do think it's a nice touch. Where are you? Get over here. So that is a nice touch at the same time. These big dudes are easy to farm. They drop smithing mats, upgrade mats. So good dudes to farm, these big dudes. You know, that first vestige we started at, like the Lampbearer or whatever it's called, pretty much just go back there, kill that dude back there, farm and reset. So, you know, that's my view on the game. You know, I did have a couple issues with it, again, being lack of, you know, where to go now. Of course, like, I'm not going to compare it to Elden Ring, but Elden Ring is open world, and you kind of just progress and go and go and go. But the lack of, like, knowing where to find the keys, and cool, the side quests you can call out with the exclamation marks on the vestiges and what have you. Like, perfect example, let's plant this here. Again, I find this super cool. You can make your own checkpoints. Really cool. That Umbral form thing. But, like, if we go to warp to a vestige, you can see, like, I'm missing one side quest here. I wish you would do that more for, like, hey, come here and do this next thing to progress the main story. I mean, but again, a lot of games do that. You know, Lies of P, perfect example, put like a little face or an icon next to a location as to, like, hey, you have a piece of equipment or an item, go bring it back to this NPC kind of thing. But again, you know, my main issues with this game was the lack of direction and the 2 bosses kind of being pushovers. Now, I can definitely appreciate story-driven at the end of the game, because you went through all this nonsense to cleanse the beacon and find all these things and work your way around God knows where. So I can definitely appreciate that. But at the same time, if the second to last boss is going to be a pushover, at least make the final boss hard, or at least the second to last boss, like, make him like the right-hand man of the final boss and maybe a little bit tougher. So those are just my thoughts. But The game is great, again, for the length, difficulty, quality of gameplay, the things you can do in the game, plenty of things you can do in the game. Again, I'm gonna sound like a broken record. Between the price, length, difficulty, I'm no A+ gamer and I got through it. Really, the only things I really had to do were look up where to find certain keys, so typical Souls or Souls-like style. Otherwise, I do think this game is a great game, good game. If you haven't played this game, really should go play this game. And I personally don't have any issues with this game. This is a lot quicker of a review, but I can't get over this game. So I'll probably do another run through offline, maybe not. But it definitely has good replay value, considering the different builds you can do and how unique you can make the build. Again, like with the Radiance build, you can one-hand a sword and then do spells at the same time, things of that nature, right? So you can get unique with it. And again, typical Souls-like, and I think they hit the mark with it. I really do. A couple of personal things, agree to disagree, whatever it is, but I definitely think this game, hits a lot of marks and it's definitely worth getting. So, with that being said, I think that, hope everyone has a great day, and, again, just look at this environment, right? Like, we're working through this castle, very clean, very cool, very, like, and a couple other areas, like, where they have poison swamps and things of that nature, again, typical Souls-like game, and I think they just do a really good job with it. I really do. I really do. It's a nice touch, nice game, and they did a really good job. So those are my thoughts. So hope everybody has a great day, a blessed day, and I will catch you all on the next one.